this would make no sense to us. If we didn't know that we could picture those radon tubes coming out of the diamond sun crystal body and Earth becoming, say, a star kind of thing and not exploding, like not vaporizing everything on its surface. If we didn't know those things, at least a little bit, this would make no sense. If we read this to you, but we'll be able to read it to you, and you'll be able to see if you remember anything from the K2, 3, and the beginnings of the 4 programs that started in Belize. So we will get to that, and that was kind of like it was like the good news at the end of something that seemed could be a bit much, the whole process. But what it's going to look like, I haven't a clue, except it's going to be neat. It appears that we're all going for a ride, including the planet, including the Vecca, whatever's left of it. Yeah. So, anyway, this is, you're going to see one, you're going to see one that looks similar to this. In fact, it looks almost exactly like it, except it isn't. All right, this one tracks the movements and the positions of the KETHRADON and the spheres around them in our Eka-Veka system. Now, what got really crazy was to do all this, we also had to trace this stuff. I'm not going to go into this now, but this is where the monadic studies go. This says, okay, we know this is the Particate density system in our Veka, right? Is the counterclockwise Le'adori parallel Eka center flame. Huh? How did they get a Le'adori center flame? There's the breakdown. There's crossovers between who's got Le'adori flame units in their seed atoms and who's got Le'atori units in their seed atoms. And that all had to be traced for all of them on this side. And then there's a way it's reversed and turned inside out, but not negative reversed. It's flipped, like left to right. And then shifted to their axis to get the alignments of where their positions are. All of that had to be analyzed. So at some point, if we ever have time, when we're not dealing with like red pulse and things, we'll probably get into that. I had to take it right down to the particle universe, or pKa universe has male monadic shield and chem cell, a counterclockwise parallel Eka, Le'adori center flame, and then take that out to the next level where you have the Veka base shield, the Eka base shield, and the Akasha base shield, and which one goes which way, what it's made out of. I mean, this stuff was intense. The most important thing we need to know for now is that there will be one that is like this, like a reflection of this that also has its 2L sets. All right, the sets of the KETHRADONs that go with each other, particum and particum and particate and particate. But they spin, and it's not just as easy as just opposite ours. It's a bit more complicated. If it wasn't for Mylars, I never would have been able to do the graphs, because I had to take this, flip it over, white out all the numbers and the gates, because I wanted to find the gate numbers. All right, it's not just a matter of saying, yeah, and just imagine that flipped over. We have all the gate numbers on these. We know where the primal light gates are. We know where the arc gates would fit into here. We know, we can find gates and we can show alignments because of that. And we can show, okay, say this gate is connected to this spot on the planet and that means this. Well, we had to be able to trace the thing perfectly through all of its movements to get what it looks like on the other side, so we know what gates, not just what angle things were sitting at, but what gates were at what angle. And then we had to trace the spins of each of them, the concurrent spins, where if this one spin, one set here spin 45 degrees, there'd be a set over on the other side. One of the sets, we had to figure out which one would spin 45 degrees in the opposite direction. And what it does is bring gates over here, not only in alignment through, passing through, and therefore in alignment at different times with each other, but you also have another set of these going on the other side. It's as if you took this, and if you looked at it, pretend it's just like a top spiral of a Merkaba, and it has a disc on the bottom. If you look at it from the top down, you're looking like from the point of a funnel downward, and you're seeing the funnel, and down underneath there'd be the base shield, and let's say this would be the base shield. And it looks like it's spinning in one direction from there, but then if you got down under it, and you watched it from up underneath, same shield, same piece of, let's say it's just like a plate, a dinner plate spinning on the bottom. But now you're looking at the bottom of the plate. Looks like it's spinning in the opposite direction, even though nothing changed. Well, that plate at the bottom of that spiral would also have another spiral coming down on it. But that plate that we're looking up at from underneath would be the parallel Eka. That's where that would be. So right now we're looking down at the top of the plate. From, let's say we're looking at it from the Eka level, all right, or from the Akasha level. We're looking down. We see the Veka base shield. If we went underneath that plate that is the Veka base shield and looked up, we would be looking down at the parallel side, the parallel Akasha base shield. So it would be the underside, basically, right? If this is the top of my hand, they would be the bottom. And there's a spin going this way, a set of spins, and a set of spins going the other way on the top. And these spark at different times as well. So it's all about the sparking. The monads are an interesting subject when we get into them, because these are the eternal flames that are created by the constant repeating of spark points, where sparks continually, because of the way the cycles are organized all mathematically, there are repeating points. Whenever these things cycle together, because of their speed ratios and their size ratios to each other, there are set points where sparks will always occur. And they are the sparks that fuel the entire eternal life momentum of the thing. They are the monadic flame sparks. So there's a whole thing that we'll get into that. But for now, we're going to see this one as the top of the plate. That is our Eka system. I'm not going to analyze all the spins right now, but at some point when we have time to do that, we will. It's like some of that detail that it's like, nice to know it's there if I ever need it. But what's important about the detail is sometimes I have to get it there in order to draw the correct conclusions. And it's the conclusions, the aha, that's usable information that is important. So that's why they had to be done like this. Can I have the next one, please? Thank you. This one looks almost exactly the same, almost. But this goes with the parallel Akasha Eka system. And this one's called the Le Edore flame system. Now the center flame of ours is the Le Ettore flame. But there are crossovers, because some of the Veka quadrants have a set of each on each side. But this side, on the parallel, and this is the parallel Akasha, not just our parallel. I'm not talking about just our PKA side parallel Earth over there. This is the whole parallel Veka Akasha system, the underside of the plate, or actually the top side of the plate, depending on what angle you're looking at it from. It's like you're saying, are you our underworld or are we your underworld? Kind of thing. Yeah. They said they don't look at it that way anyway. So. All right, now, this again, and these are basically what we would know as the start points from the position the things were in when the gold wave infusion occurred in November of 2002, because that's when we started our rotation. So they used that it wouldn't necessarily say it's the 0 point from the creation cycle, but it is the point where we were in the cycle on our side, where they could show the alignments and begin to show us this information so we could start tracking our movement. And this is where they were at the same point in time. Now, what I haven't done on this or the other one that you saw first, I haven't shown yet the spins. I've shown how they spin, but I haven't showed where they ended up yet in the different time periods as we moved through Hithararo and Hithalon and that kind of thing. But these diagrams led to the ability to do that, so we could see what we were overlapping with. And of course there's wormholes, as we know, and black holes. What was important to know is when were which systems passing over which hole systems, which black hole systems, because that's when they can interface and cause trouble. And that's part of what's taking place as far as the alignments that are taking place now. We managed to get through our crossover of the Wisadek, in the parallel side of our own Veka. We managed to, ride the buffer field through and over so we didn't fall. Parallel Earth did fall. All right, that is already in the Wisadek black hole, Wisadrak black hole. What we're going to see is after we understand how these two things work together as the top and bottom of a plate, we're going to see where not only the black holes we know where they are, but we're going to see where the Adani black hole is, because that's the host hole. They're the ones that, yes, they're fallen, and no, they're not going to be able to get back up, but they are not Metatronic, and they are the ones that are still living a Christic life, even though they don't have the eternal life potential anymore. They're the ones that are the last hope stop for the ones who don't want to go Metatronic, but are completely going into monadic reversal. So we'll be able to see where their black hole system is, and we're moving toward it right now in our spins. And we'll also be able to see where the troublemakers are, which are the Budhara from the other side. Because those two, what's interesting is we've got twin flames and we've got twin wormhole sets. All right? Because remember when we talked about phantom Earth and those kind of things, and we had the black hole coming down on one axis at about 22.5 degrees, and then crossing through the other way, through each Kethara grid, you'd have one coming down this way, and one coming down this way on the tilt. This one in our system, if we were back on our own Eka map, that one was the Wisadek black hole. And over here was our phantom Earth. Phantom Earth would be in direct alignment with where the Budhara wormhole is on the parallel Eka-Veka side. All right, the same thing over here, where the parallel phantom Earth was over here. That is the axis that the Adani host is running on. So they're like the twin opposites of those. There's obviously a historical connection of the creation of all of them. You know, they must have either one created a set of weaknesses in the shields that caused the others to happen, or the probability of it or something. They haven't given that yet. Maybe they will when they get into the Gaian records. I don't know. But we're going to be able to see what we're passing through, what we're passing over. And most importantly, about being able to see this, first of all, now we can conceptualize at least. If we can conceptualize how this applies to, okay, this is literally our universal system on the other side, or on that side, the other side of the plate, we have our Veka quadrant. If we can visualize that and we can understand our planet is a small part of that system, we can begin to understand where these guys are. We're in the same space. We're just at different time pulsations, and that creates different shield configurations, that creates different interface between units of radiation that form light balls, that form spheres, that form reality fields. So it's very complex, but it's simple when you have at least a map to go by. Another thing we're going to learn at some point, more so probably in Kethara, but you know how we've seen these, and then we've as the maps for the 4 Veka quadrants, and with the little Eka in the center. Notice their Eka points in the other direction. Notice their Akasha points in the opposite as ours. Where our Akasha tip is up here, theirs is over there. Where our Veka 12 is right here, theirs is over here. All right. So anyway. Okay, he wants me to go someplace else. I'm not even going to finish that sentence then. Let's see. Anyway, down here, this shows the same alignments in the parallel system as we had seen, where you have the 2 L things, where the 2 particums are together, and the 2 particaes are together, the density and the primal light field. But these spin in opposite directions than they do on the other side, where you have the particate fields that here on this L spinning counterclockwise, where on our side of the plate they spin clockwise. And you have the PCM fields over here spinning clockwise, where they spin counterclockwise on our side. What it does is create a situation where you have 8 different Kethara grids that cycle through each other in sets, little L sets. And again, there's that almost swastika, but not quite swastika, because it still has its line where they crash into each other so they can spark. I still have to do a set of diagrams where I put this together with the other one so we can see if a swastika is natural or not. Because if it does not show up that somewhere in there what looks like a swastika forms on the natural way the polarities are supposed to be, then it is a reverse symbol in all applications as far as its metaphysical meaning. But it might not be. When I put these 2 together and the other 2 together and then get the speed ratios, which spins how fast in relation to what, because they, that changes alignments too. Right now they have me doing them on the same speeds. And I think that's because of the cycle we're in. I think they even out and possibly go in the same, where they're going in counter rotation but on the same spins. But normally they would probably, when they're cycling slowly, there's probably a variance factor of 6 cycles. Like every 6 cycles, when one's going 33 1/3 and the other's going 11 2/3 in the opposite direction, sparks happen, and then maybe they balance out and go through something similar to a Hetharon cycle that's called something else. So there's, right now they're having us use the same spin momentum, not giving it a number, but just, so when I spin this side of the plate, it's spinning at the same rate as this side of the plate. But I think there's several spin factors involved when we get into it heavily. It's not important to be able to trace the core spins, and that's what's important. Just like with that plate, if you have this side, this top of it going at this direction, unless they're completely separate and you have 2 plates stuck together, if they're actually the same plate, you're going to have a hard time spinning the other one at a different speed, the bottom side of the same plate. So I think there's a similarity in possibly the Akasha or the Eka base shield levels where the spins are the same. Just like at a certain point in the flames, you get a 360 that first breaks down into equal 180s before they go into equal four sets of, a set of 490s before they go into 33 and a third and 11 and 2/3. So I think the fact that we spin them at the same rate of speed in counter rotation to get the alignments, and it's the alignments that are so important because that's what we're going to track our movement through time with. These are how you map time. And the beginnings of how you map time. I mean, I've seen amazing things in some other places that I haven't visited in a long time, that you would have three-dimensional versions of these made of light hanging in the air and moving all simultaneously, so you could study them and see directly all the interactions between them. It's kind of like holodeck on one of they had it on, what was that show? I forget. Not Star Trek, the other one. Yeah, it was Star Trek, wasn't it? Yeah, Next Generation, holodeck. Anyway, so we can at least from these understand we have these rotations taking place on those L axes. The L's are in counter rotation to each other, and we also have two Vecca maps stuck together, one at the top of the plate and one at the bottom of the plate. And that's where our parallel Akasha and Eka systems are. So when we saw the first sets of our Eka Vecca maps going all the way up to the God worlds, it didn't show the underside, it just showed the top side. So it implies that that whole stairway to heaven has an upside-down stairway to heaven going the other way under it. Or are we upside down? I'm not sure if you could even tell. I'd love to know what the whole form of this thing is, and I imagine it's taking place within a sphere. Where is up and where is down, ultimately, in relation to that first creation point, which is at the center? How do you get up and down when you have a sphere and the center point of creation is the center of it? So I'm not really great at spherical mathematics. That's what Az is studying right now, bless him. He's doing the grid mechanics on it. But we can understand at least that this is a mapping system that we can track gate movements, and if we know where those gates come up on our planet, we can have we can directly interface with what most people don't even realize exists. This is something we were here to interface with a long time ago anyway. What happens with Eka systems, too, is when we have the four quadrants sticking out like that, we've also seen, and I don't know if it caused confusion or not, but we've also seen in the K23 manual, we have these overlays in the embedded systems where you see them all in one, where the little Eka in the center is actually a larger one sticking out this way, and this and this and this and this are all pulled into one. So you're kind of like, well, if that's an Eka map and that's an Eka map, how does that work? One's the expansion and one's the contraction. It's the breathing rhythms of them, and they're a bit complicated. I don't have, when Eka exhales, the other one inhales, it's not quite that simple. There's like a three-way exchange that goes down. It's syncopated or something. But basically, these are when the Vecca is expanded, and either the Akasha or the Eka exhales it out, and I'm not sure which one, right? And the Eka contracts and gets small when the Vecca expands. The other maps that show them all stuck together with the Eka as larger than these Kethara grids, are showing when the Eka expands and the Vecca contracts up into one. And this gets back into the matradon of how the Ka and the Tha would come together and phase into one and spark in the center. It's the same process, but universes do it. It's kind of neat. And it is the creation process. So if we get this far, we can understand the plate, and we can understand we have something that looks like that when it's exhaled on the top and the bottom of the plate. And each of those things stuck on the top and bottom of the plate spin in counter rotation to each other, so the gates all cruise through each other. And I imagine the gates cruise through each other and spark when they do that. And we won't even get into that because we don't need to know that quite yet. Okay, next one. I think that's bad. Where's the stuff? This is the stuff I was hoping we wouldn't have to deal with until 2012 or later. It was hard enough. Or this is just showing the two together. It's the next one that I need after this. But this is just showing the comparison of the two. So these are things that, like, when we get them typeset, they'll show up in probably the K4 manual if that ever gets done, because I'm still trying to finish the K23 manual and put words in it, so somebody can understand what it means. But all of these things explain all of the spins, so they're all broken down, so we know they're accurate. So when we start to show you this in relation to tracking the time cycles that we're moving through now, it has the work to back it up. It's like showing the long division when you're doing a dividing problem and not just using your calculator and popping the answer in. Right? It's showing you the work that got you to that answer, which means you can backtrack it or forward track it, and it still comes out to self-justify. So that's just another one showing the two together. Next one, please. This one still never got finished since Ireland, I think, is when we introduced it. But I want to bring that back in. It's still a mess, but we're working on it. But this, right next to the ones you just saw, if you think of the base shield that the Vecca quadrant was spinning through, all right, consider this the base shield. There are specific, this was our time cycle when we talked about this was the 0 point creation line, and then we had what is called a 6 cycle. You'd have 0 to 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you'd have the Hetharohethalon cycle and the Rishite reset cycle, and they're very fast acceleration cycles, so they're not counted as a 7 and 8 cycle. If you wanted to count them that way, it's the cycle of the octaves, because there are 8 sets of them, but they're base 12 octaves, so you have 12 octaves with 8 increments that are called a 6 cycle, which is a little confusing when you think about it. Right? Anyway, this is to help us understand that these diagrams, these were about time and how time moves and how time expands. What are tracks of times? Tracks of time are the expansions outward, where energy is expanding out from the center. The center is what? The Eka. It's the center flame. And actually, as the center flame spins this way, it creates a deflection field that sends frequency out this way. And that's what creates the energy that becomes the components of the spheres that are around the Catharic grid. So it's really, really complex. It's a complex system. But if we can understand that these time cycles are the same thing that's taking place when those Veccas spin. When those Veccas spin together, there would be one time cycle of the expanding outward 6 cycle, and you actually have 6 rotations of these. You'd go through one, pass through each one of these axes, and each one of those would be a little bit of an axis shift, a 45-degree axis shift between one and the next. And you'd finish one 6 cycle, then you expand out to the next level, and there'd be another one. And after you finish a whole set of 6 cycles, you come up and pass through the 0 point, and you can do a leap, which brings you in relation to what is the Akasha axis. That's Akasha 12. If you think about our Akasha, this would fit in the Akasha, because it's the Akasha base shield. And there's the Akasha level to it, there's the Eka level to it, there's the Vecca level to it, and the monadic level to it. And then down in that you have 4 little Vecca quadrant levels, which are also little cycles that have their 6 cycle sets and things. So all of this is connected to all of that anatomy. And this gets even more interesting, actually, because we're going to see how these time cycles correspond at some point to the literal first creation series, the Genesis, if you want to call it, the first Genesis, which is the perpetually recreated Genesis, because these apply directly to how one particle is formed. Source creates a particle, boom, there is one particle. How did that become everything? Right? There is a process by which the particle created subunits within itself, broke itself into different amounts of frequency that collided in specific ways at specific angles, and created a cycle. There is a set of radiation units that forms on each one of those 6 axes, and it's because of those that allows the replication of particle to take place, which is the same process that happens when babies are made. It's the same way that cells replicate. It's the same way that our cells replace themselves all the time. You know how they say, about every 7 years you technically have a new body because all the cells in the old one died and were replaced? Well, these are the natural processes that govern all of those processes, but they're also how universes are born and die. They're also the same time cycles we talk about when we're tracking time to know what pillars are coming in where and what frequencies are coming in where. All right, so I'm not going to go heavily into these. These are still driving me crazy trying to remember enough of. You need about 6 different sets of data to go through a chart like that. It's like, oh yeah, that's this, and this has this 550 billion years on this one, and this one's that one this way. Now you have another one going in the opposite direction at the same time, which is kind of interesting. This is that other one shrunk down and cleaned up. So you can at least see it without the scribbles all over it. What you have is a time spiral. All right? This is actually this is the core of what time waves form on. We're not getting into time waves yet, because I do believe one forms on each of the axes, and I think they come out this way, and they form the electromagnetic spectrum of waves that go this way, and the other ones that go this way through them, sound and light waves. But anyway, this is showing you the basic 6 cycle, which is a 12 cycle, because the 6 cycles expanding outward imply a set of 6 cycles that are contracting inward simultaneously. That's because because of the structure of an akasha. An akasha god seed forms its parallel akasha on the other side of its plate, and it forms its parallel systems underneath. So wherever you have motion going in one way, you will have it going in the opposite direction on the other side of it. And these time spirals, we would have one. We would be in the, I think our Veka quadrant is actually in the spiraling back home phase, the particum side. But in the larger one, we're in the one that has the Eka base shield that goes clockwise, which is the expanding outward. Okay, so I believe we're at the expanding outward spiral. It implies that the parallel would have the contracting inward spiral. Now, I'm not sure. See, we didn't analyze these yet to that point, because we wouldn't have been back until like Christmas if we had to do this for tonight. But I just want to show you where these images that you've seen before connect into what what you're seeing now, and connect directly into all these dynamics. Directly plug into where is that parallel Eka Akasha? How does it relate to us? It's very intimately intertwined with us. It may be that our Eka base shield. Yeah, I'm having a feeling it is, because we have. They say we're the male one because we have the Ettore flame. And if the center flame here is spinning clockwise, it implies its deflection field is spinning counterclockwise. So you'd actually have the shield spinning clockwise, but the deflection field of energy running counterclockwise. I can hardly wait till that transmission comes in, explaining all that in detail. Anyway, what it creates is a spiral. Now this is a rough drawing of just ignore all these scribbles. This is how they all start, all the diagrams, scribbles everywhere. This is a nautilus shell, but it's also the spiral of how what starts at the center expands itself outward, and that's the deflection field. So as this thing spins in the opposite rotation in the center, it creates a deflection field, or energy coming off it in the opposite direction. And that's the energy that I believe forms the differential frequency or Manet frequency that's available for manifestation. That's what expands the manifestation out from the center. And it gets to a certain point where it completely shifts axis and does this. And I think there's a point where then it comes back. Because there's one I'm going to show you. I just got this finished. I was getting pieces of it for a while. But there's a back cycle that takes place where it goes back to the center and contracts back in through the opposite side of the plate. So you spiral out into full expansion. This is why science here will say the universe is expanding, and it keeps just expanding and expanding, and eventually it's going to destroy itself by expanding and expanding, right? Well, it will expand and expand, but to a certain point. When it hits that certain point, it will flip into the other side of the plate time cycles, and it will start to contract again, but its parallel will come over here and do the expansion. So it's expand, contract. One's expanding, the other's contracting. So yes, we're in an expanding universe, and just because it might take eons to see when it takes its next inhale and contracts doesn't mean that it's going to explode. So the whole hypothesis that science tends to build some of its arguments on don't understand any of these dynamics. The inhale and exhale, or the in-breath and out-breath of God, which goes with the Merkabas, also goes with the time spirals. So anyway, these connect. They make this spiral. You also would have one going in the opposite direction, one going spiraling energy out, the other spiraling it back toward the inside. And I have a feeling that this spiral, I was thinking because it's going clockwise, it belongs to our Eka, but I wouldn't doubt that this one is created by our Eka, it's created by the parallel flame, I think. Anyway, it doesn't matter yet for what we're doing. I just want you to understand that there is this time spiral that happens and a counter spiral that happens on the other side of the plate with the parallel system. This is going to be important when we find out that we're going to end up over there. All right, so what is this flip, this leap we're talking about? It's literally leaping from one side of the plate that we're on through a set of gates that come into a specific alignment during this process of starburst that will allow us to retain structural integrity of the planet and whatever parts of the Veka can hold the Polarian gate host and literally come through the center and pop into a corresponding cycle in the other side that's out of the fall danger here. And there's even more to it than that, because they're in danger too. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight, and more so when we get into the history and what's happening. Because right now the Ekkas are at war; they're being attacked. The Budhara are going after them, and this is bigger than the electric wars were. We're sitting down here on a little quarantined Earth, ETs don't exist, and we're here all alone, and we're the most advanced life form in the whole universe. It's like, yeah, right. It's kind of nice that we're in quarantine right now, because we don't have to see this yet. Hopefully we won't have to see it at all, because it's not pleasant. The Eka is going to fall, but parts of it, just like parts of the Veka, can be salvaged. Right now the mission has changed from what was a preventative stance to prevent these type of things from happening to a salvage mission. What can be saved and brought through on a host will, and it will have to be moved out of the time tracks, because these time tracks are compacting and they are going to fall. The original crystal body is going to compact. But there is a way that the planet and the Veka and the Eka can, as the old one is falling, literally rebirth a new one, getting new frequency from the center flames. And that's what the process is that we're involved with. It's an exciting process. Literally a new universal Eka structure is being born, and it's parallel. But it's kind of interesting sitting in the middle of the one that's not going to be there anymore. So I don't know what that looks like yet. Anyway, go on to the next one, please. I want to show you something about the spiral. And this is going to be this is stay tuned, because I know there's going to be more that explains how these work too. But there we go. This is the spiral that you just saw, right? Right? But there's an inhale-exhale thing. For each of these, if we have 0 point here, right there, there's the first little expansion out. Then there's a inhale back. Then there's an expansion, a 45-degree shift, an expansion out, and an inhale back. Expansion out, inhale back, shift. Expansion out, inhale back, shift. You get this whole pattern all the way around. Expansion out, inhale back, shift 45 degrees, expansion out. And what it does progressively as the Eka, it's the Eka center flame spinning in the center, and it's sending out the deflection field. There is an inhale-exhale process happening here, and it creates the arc systems, the literal arcing of energy, and it gets the further it goes out. This, I think, shows, it's 3 levels of complete cycles. There would be 6 of those, and that would be the real lotus. That's what the real symbology of the lotus is about. It's about the expansion and contraction of energy through the Eka base shield, the breathing rhythm of the Eka-Veka systems that keeps eternal life systems in motion. So I just wanted you to see that too. You've got your 45-degree axes and your main vertical axes. You have the vertical axes of the parallel this way, right? So it looks like 8, but it's actually a 6-petal lotus with the 2 top points from the other one from underneath showing through. So there's more that's coming on this, but all of these things are connected together. When you saw the Eka-Veka maps that are the little cross thing with the plates, like the plate with the crosses on both sides, they're all spinning within this. They're creating these energy configurations. They're moving through cycles of time, which are rhythms of pulsation, vibrational pulsation in the base shield. So if we can understand that all of these pieces, even if there's still lots of holes of how are they connected? Because it's very complex. At least you can see where they come together, like where they're all a part of each other somehow. We'll get to the somehow, I'm sure, at some point, and I'm almost dreading it, to be honest with you. But I just wanted you to see where the arc structures form literally with this expansion. There's going to be a point. I want to show you one more thing. Did you notice that in the middle here, this little shape? Looks like an eye, doesn't it? And you have one expansion that comes out here and there. Looks like lobes of brain. This looks like a fetus, doesn't it? This is the way the fetus expands as well, as how things start out, how from the first cells at the center, how they start their expansion out, where the energy from the flames expands out from what would be like the matrodon or the petrodon cell or whatever smaller flame cell it might be, and expands the form outward through the deflection currents that are available. And that gets into the Merkaba spins, the difference between the top and bottom, gives you the differential field that is what can spiral out into manifestation. So it's all connected. It's connected to everything we do, our time cycles that we're going to track now, and also the creation process itself. our birth process. This is just a real quickie to show you the expansion and contraction that I was talking about before. Those two different maps, where this is the Veka, expanded out with the Eka contracted inside of it, and it's in the Akasha. And here are the other maps that are showing the same thing, but a different stage. It's actually showing a shield here, too, that doesn't need to be there. It's just, I didn't white it out. This is that in its expansion stage. And here is this pulled into the center. And here is this pulled into the center. And also this pulled into the center. And this one that was here is also this pulled into the center. So it's just showing you the expansion and contraction phases. There's some real sophisticated stuff that gets into this about using your pillar of power and using breathing. Because once you get to the point where you know how and why to use the apparatus you have that you call your body and your mind and your spirit to literally reclaim your godlike powers of being a creator, because we were created in the image of our creator. We were created to create, and we either do it consciously or subconsciously. And it usually comes out better when we do it consciously. So it'd be nice to learn how to do that again. Eventually, that's the fun part of this, is we will learn how to do that again. Oh, yeah. Some of you might remember this mess as well. Yeah. I looked at that. I can't even read the writing in it now. But it did give us enough of an understanding. I mean, we were tracking all sorts of different things. We were tracking on the original Hitharo separation, the different time frames. Like there was probably like about 6 pull-out graphs on this, but it started this way. And a lot of times, if there's not time to pull them out into a sequence of graphs, you end up with something that looks like this, that was meant to be a string of maybe like 5 or sometimes 10 different graphs that took you through each stage to get you to the point where you could see what all of these things that are all jumbled up together are. The only reason I have this here right now, excuse me, there's actually 2 reasons. One is to show you again, this at the center, you took this circle here, and these are the 4 Kethara grids that form the Veka, right? Now, we also know on the other side of that plate, if this was the plate, there's another set of those. We also have learned that what's the Particum universe here and its Particum light field in our Eka-Veka system spin this way, and that the parallel pKa system, or the pKa, I'll call it pKa on our side, pKa system and the pKa primal light system in our Veka go clockwise. So we're supposed to be in our natural spins when we start to spin, when our Veka system starts to spin within the Eka base shield. It's supposed to go counterclockwise. These 2 little guys are supposed to go this way. And that's what we've done. We started at, you can say, our start point. It's different than our 0 point, because 0 point's up there, and it's on the Eka axis. It has to do with when the frequency comes out from the Eka and spirals into formation of the Veka. That gets into some of that spiraling thing that we were just looking at. So there's a whole set of things before you even get to the point where you have these 4 Kethara grids and their spheres around them out. But for where we started was here in November of 2002. That's when the gold wave infusion came through, and we knew we were going into a Hetharo-Hethalon cycle, which was a reset cycle, but where the Eka gates would reset the Veka gates. If that were enough, we wouldn't have gone into starburst cycle. That's when the Eka is going to fall, because the Eka gates aren't holding the Veka because of what's happening in the Veka. And that's what is taking place now. There's the first, 1, 2, 3, the first 4, in fact, 5? Oy. At this stage in time, in the Veka, at the Eka, at this period in time, there are 5 of the crystal pylon temples that have been taken over by the Anu races that are working with some of the Budharas and the Wisidraks. Yeah, so 5 of the crystal pylon temples, part of one, not all of one. They're still holding whatever's left of Brennaway. 2 Shambhala, 3 Agartha, 4 parallel Agartha, and 6. They got 6. Uh-oh. All right, so they got 6. Now, if we think of the Eka up here, just for a second, because we'll get back to this, but its rod, you know how each Kethara grid implies right across that center line where the Azure is? That's where the rod comes through, right? And you have Kethara center 6 and Kethara center 7 running on the ends of the rod. Well, the Eka in our system is here at this angle, and its rod runs across it horizontally this way. It's 6 and it's 7. What it means is, this is Eka 12 up here and Eka 1 down here. It means these gates here, you have part of one that had fallen a long time ago. It's called Tellus, that was part of Brennaway. In the fall of Brennaway, it literally was cracked off, and it's like a thing that floats out. It's a planetoid, I think you'd call it at this point. But we have the Gate 3 in Eka and Gate 4 in Eka. These are Agartha and Parallel Agartha, which is another word for inner earth, as some people have called them. 2, which would be in their Kethara grid there, that's Shambhala. And 6, and I don't think they ever gave the name of 6. I can't remember, because the center one is Kemalohati, because that's the name of the flame. And Kemelohati something. It's another version of that is that the one in the parallel, they have one too. They have a chem flame as well. But anyway, what's taking place right now is there's an invasion taking place up there in their systems. It's also taking place in our systems down in the Veka system. But there are the others, the UAR and the Budhara are trying to capture the Eka rod in order to take down not only this Eka and Veka, but to be able to go over and raid the Adani wormhole, grab that, and then literally take out the entire parallel. They're going for gold on this one. I don't know what got it to that level up here, in the ecosystems, but I do know that they are literally in wartime. And wartime there is kind of like, think electric wars, but probably worse. I mean, these were light balls flying across the sky. Who needs airplanes? These were electricity wars where it looked like natural forces fighting with each other. And they're going through a bit of this. They're not fighting, from what I see. They're holding. There's a difference. They're making a stand, and the temples that they still have, they are using all the frequency they can generate to hold it. And they are going to go with us, where I've talked about we're going to do a time leap into a completely different probability line through the other side of the plate, through the parallel Eka. They are going to come too. The Eka, whatever can hold with the Eka that can hold the Polarian host, is also going to come through, and so is the parallel side, because the damage is being done here. We'll get more into what that might be, because they're just giving us bits of understanding now as far as what their drama is there, because they want us to pay attention to our drama first, because ours is very connected. I have a feeling that they might not make their link into the host if our system falls, because Earth is SG3. It connects to universal SG3. It's not just planetary gate. It's an important gate. So it's important to them to make their leap that we're able to make our leap. And through this leap that you'll see at the end of this, we'll all be able to literally, as the old crystal body around us dismantles through the process of red pulse that was brought on by starburst, that was brought on by the UIR activities, we're going to grow rapidly a new crystal body, one dimension at a time. As the old one falls, the new one will emerge, and this one will be set on the Christ pattern, which means all the karmic miasmic mess that's still stuck in the old one won't be there. So it's progressively clearing the karma out. Each pillar that sets, it's going to make 2 time waves. One's going to hold the karma, and the other's going to hold the ascension. And they're going to interface for a while, but they've given dates now as to when things split. So all of this was just to help you to understand where when you see a diagram like this, and the other one's a little clearer, that you'll be able to see. It doesn't have all these things. This shows the wormholes, but at different time periods. But it's the same one wormhole. Okay, it's over here. There was the phantom axis, phantom Earth axis, that we have the Budhara wormhole. They're interfacing with this one over here. They're trying to capture this one over here in order to poke back through to their side and get the Adani one that's up here, which would literally allow them to do something that's at the end, that's really what they're questing for. There's something that runs here, which is the Akasha axis. Remember, that would be Akasha 12 up here and Akasha 1 down there. The Akasha, what runs up and down here is the Akasha staff, and they call that the rod of Rama. There's a frequency interface to a completely other Veka system, almost like a twin pair. Let's say you had, quadruplets instead of just twins? All right. If this was one twin pair, there is another twin pair where things went better. Where this exists, I don't know. I don't even want to see the map right now because I don't have to draw it. But the what they call this frequency tube that runs down the center of the Akasha is the rod of Rama. And that is what our guys are going to activate, because it will stop the other guys from taking over it in order to reverse its spin, because they're going to try to get control of the Kamalahati flame. That's why they're progressively going after each of the gates. If they can reverse that flame, they can reverse the whole spin on the Ekaveka system, and they can spin it nice and neatly down into their hole. So this is a big conquest that's going on. This is the biggest move that's been made in ages. I mean, a long time. We're kind of lucky that we get to sit under this little, frequency fence bubble down here, like nothing's happening, and we get a little earthquake once in a while or something. Maybe it will stay that way. Maybe it won't. I do have memory of being awake and aware and rather amazed when the last electric wars things happened. I remember the electric wars, and I remember the fall of Brennaway when a partial red pulse came through. And it was rather fascinating. I also remember spaceships flying through the skies throwing light balls at each other. I remember Merkabahs without spaceships flying through the skies throwing light balls at each other. And it was very, very strange. And I know those things can happen because of those memories. I could actually tune back into those times. It's a little rocky because it's hard to get back there because some of the timelines are severed. It could just as easily go into that here. It probably won't, but it could. Because, no, we're not alone. No, we've never been alone. Just because our governments have lied to us and told us we are doesn't mean it's true. I mean, look at the evidence, people. Do you think I could invent this system? I'm talking to somebody. Right? If I'm just nuts, I must be brilliant, too. Anyway, so this was reminding you of the old one. This is just to touch base with things you've understood at least a little bit before. We've gone from November 2002. We've done our rotation of our particum and particum light field and particum density field up this way. We passed through the Hethalon of 2003 in August. We've passed through, crossing over, where our particum universe crossed over, the Wisadrak wormholes, or black holes, and we made it through there. And we're actually at this axis now. There's been an interesting thing with the Buddhara wormholes coming online. They've actually been kind of holding us in this band. We might have moved past it already, except they've been pulling us back. So as we're trying to move up, they're trying to pull us back this way. So it's creating almost like a, like running back and forth on a treadmill that's not turned on. That kind of thing. You're getting nowhere. This is going to change now with the starburst cycle, and this is the first one. This is going to be the point at which and from which the two waves split. Because what they were able to do by opening the Buddhara wormholes here, connecting them to here, they were able to make kind of like a super thrust wormhole. And instead of having these shields split apart, they decided they were going to go for the whole thing. So they've actually not allowed these shields to separate like they would have started during the Hethalon stuff. They pushed them back together. So they're still riding with us on the right spin because they're waiting for the moment of glory when they can get up as far as the Adani host and then force us down into the wrong spin and take the whole thing out. And that's what they're trying to do. They're not going to get away with it. But it's very interesting. There's not been any interference directly yet on this trip that I've seen. As far as some trips, you could just feel it. It's almost like you want to walk around ducking because you can feel stuff, at you in the astral field. Haven't felt that yet, but there was a bit of something that was coming in tonight. About 7 o'clock, I think I started noticing it. Was it about 7? Was it? Yeah. So it might be that they figured out we're here and that we're going to be doing something to the tool that they plan to do that with, which we'll see. You saw a little bit of that already. They were the what they call the nine temples, what they call them, 9 network temples, I think. The Buddhara 9 network temples. You have the 999, and you have the, which is the 27 petal one. Yes, that we visited recently. Yeah, yeah, the three rings of 9 petals. 9 petals. Yeah, that's an interface one. And there's another one that they call the Andromeda arrow. And it's literally one that is positioned in a way that it links certain gates, but only at certain rotations. It's only when certain things rotate into alignment with each other that they can do these things. We're in those alignments now. Yeah. But there's one called the arrow. You'll see it better on the other one. The Andromeda arrow. And Andromeda has to do with Universal Gates 9 on our side, right? Okay, that's it. Mirach Andromeda would be the gate 9. So there's a 9-9 alignment that's happening on this axis. And there is this set of temples that connect. There's ones on the planet that connect and interface to ones in the galactic structure that interface to ones in the universal structure that create this arrow that goes right up into here. The 2 points of the bottom of the arrow end up as the Eka 3 and 4 gate, and the point of the arrow that they're aiming for is the Kemalahati flame. And they're activating that whole network of them now. They've got the side that corresponds already to the parallel, our parallel, not the parallel Akasha and Eka, but our immediate parallel Partakai side. They've already got that side online. So this is the last one. And while we are here, and while this Starburst 13 is taking place, is when they are planning, or they have started. I think they started at about the, when they say, about the 20th, somewhere around the 20th, about the 18th, I think, they started to activate these temple complexes. And these are what we're moving through. It's like we find out later. They didn't know about any of this when we went into the Lotus Temple. And I'm sure the people that go to the Lotus Temple don't know any of this either. But these things are being built on sites that were very, very ancient. And the thing is, some of these sites belong to our guys. But just like you can steal somebody's temple and put your own sign on the door, they've done that, frequency-wise. So in these places, we're going to activate our grids underneath their grids. So when certain gates get opened to stop them from activating these temples to make this rip right across that would rip the Akasha in half, literally, there's going to be gates opened on this side. You have Eka 12 here, and this goes up into the primal light field gates, and we'll see that there's something called the Rama passage that goes up through these gates that's going to be opened, and it's going to allow what's over here that would be the Akasha 6 gate, the Akasha level gate, with its 7 over here. They are going to open the run, and they are going to blow their temples, and they are going to stop them from doing this. That will allow ours, our crystal body to still go. The starburst stuff will still happen. It will still. We'll be able to get free from them, because what's happening right now is they're holding us where we're stuck. And if we can't make the climb with the frequency accelerations that are going to happen with the starbursts, it'll just crash the shield, and we'll end up going down. I think that's what the other side are hoping takes place. But it's not going to. The fact that we're here, we showed up to run the codes. That was really all that was needed. These probabilities were played out a long time ago. And things were done then. Assignments. Who wants this job? A billion years from now, if this takes place, will you promise to show up? You know what I mean? Yeah. That kind of thing. These are very old contracts. So anyway, next one, please. All right. What were we thinking? Next one. That one's not mine. That one's not mine. I didn't have that. You had that one. Yeah. Yeah, this is that cleaned up, just so you can maybe see, what does that really look like in there? Okay. That's the same type of graph without tons and tons of information that we don't need right now on it. Here we've got our Veka again. Okay, we've got our Particum, Particay, except it's not. This used to be our Particum. We're up here now. Particum's rotated up to this area. Primal light field of Particum. Now that was a 90-degree shift we've made so far since November 2002. Primal light field Particum has shifted counterclockwise with us to here. The Particay field that used to be here has shifted in clockwise rotation down here. So the antiparticle universe is now where we were. And we're where it is. This is that thing that they talked about in Voyagers a long time ago, in the original Voyagers book, where there are periods of time where you flip into the other side, where you flip into the parallel time things. And it was just like wild to even think, how does that happen, right? Well, this is how it happens. It's because of the rotations, the counter rotations of these. So we are on this alignment right now. That means something different has happened with these gates. If you remember, when we had our natural alignment here, we had our 3, 6, 9 gates running up this side, which would be, if you stood there with the Kethara grid as you, that would be your right side, your 3, 6, 9 side. And on our left side, we had the 4, 7, 10 side. So you had 4, 7, 10 gates here. These guys were the opposite. So if you laid over there and you put your head and you laid on this and you had your head here and your feet here, and you would have the opposite system. You would have your 4, 7, 10s were running on the right side, and the 3, 6, 9s were running on the left side. Yeah, I think I said that right. Yep. Now, if you swing this one down here and you swing this one up here, something interesting happens. Before, you had 4, 7, 10, 4, 7, 10, the 10, 10 connection, the 10, 10 gate connection, right? Well, when these guys come down this way and this guy goes up that way, you end up with a 9, 9 connection. The 9 gates connect with each other. Yep. Now, when you take the double 9, and there's another diagram we'll get into showing you a bit. We get into the Ark of the Covenant gate system. That has a 9, 2. And if you connect the 9 9s to the Ark of the Covenant 9 that ends up over here, you can make some very interesting triangulations of frequency. And if you remember that the parallel Earth fell, the Earth, now the whole Kethara grid didn't, so we still have, over here, we do have a universal Kethara grid, a Vecca grid, that did shift down to where the Particum used to be. But parallel Earth didn't make that shift. They fell Wisadrak. They're stuck. See, there's an interesting thing about black holes. Black holes don't rotate. They're holes in the shield, and they stay where they fell. Now, stuff might rotate inside of them, but they do not do the sweeps through the Veccas. They don't spark. They're really dead life fields. They're like kind of like a little vortex in your body, like a hole in your body that eventually it fills itself in and it's not anymore. All right? It can't spark. They don't move. Neither do the Ark of the Covenant gates. So when these things are spinning, the Ark of the Covenant gates that run this way across them, they don't. They stay in the base shield. So we actually move through them. So different gate alignments come through the Ark of the Covenant gates, and different gate alignments pass over and away from, and then back around again, over the black hole system. So you've got arc gates and black holes that don't move and don't spin within the Eka base shield. And then you have the natural Vecca systems that do spin and do their counterspins within the base shield. This becomes important, too, if you're planning to track them, because if you start having black holes doing 45-degree shifts just because you had Veccas doing it, you're not going to have any idea where anybody is. So it's important to just, black holes stay put where they fell, and so do the arc gates. So the others spiral, spin through them. Right? That's how we can come. Like I was thinking when they first said that, remember, we're over here now, and the particle, particule is over there. I remember looking at the arc gate map and those lines going across, thinking, what did that do to the arc gates? Turn them inside out or what? They said, no, they move through them. They don't move. They stay right where they are. They're still the same numbers. The arc gates stay where they are. It's just the other two grids change underneath them. So it's like, oh, okay, thank you. Because I was trying to see, I wanted to draw it. If this thing changed shape from its lines going across this way with the arcs running up the middle, the main gates running up the middle, if you flip that side over there and that side over there, it's like you're doing origami, you know what I mean, with the energy fields of the arc gates. But it's not. They just spiral through. And what we're going to see in a minute is there's something, you might have seen this. I don't know if you saw that one not yet or already or not. I don't think I had given that one to Az. We have our arc gate sets here. There are also a set of arc gates that run here, here, and here. And the ones that run here are of primary interest to us. These are known as the Rama passage. And these are the ones that are going to open. And that's what's going to allow us to get out of here when the rest of it falls. All right? And I don't just mean us down here. I mean whatever's salvageable in this Vecca system and in this Eka system. Okay, I'll show you the next one. Yes, please. Okay. Now, the arc gates that I was talking about, and this is the Akasha that's pointed in that direction, that's ours, right? We have our tip, our 12 up here, where the parallel one has its 12 up there. Okay? So these are our arc gates. This is just in the Particum side when they're in their normal, like the start position of November 2002. This is before the swing start. But it showed you the basic alignments. What changes underneath them is they're still the same center gates, but the one that used to be part of K over here is now Particum, and the one that used to be Particum is now part of K over here. And these, instead of having the 10-10 alignment, there's now the 9-9 alignment running through the center. And it's through these gates that we're going to see on the other map that I have that shows where the strange things come in on the 9-9 temples, 999 temples. But it's kind of funny. If you turn 999 upside down, you get a 666. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but it's again like, are you looking at it from above or below, right? Yeah. Wouldn't that be really bizarre if that was like the core meaning? You're looking at it from their flipped upside down perspective and it looks like a 999, but it's not. No, I don't think so. I was just speculating. Anyway, the arc gates, they are raiding the arc gates down here in order to take over. Remember, the Eka is up here, buried under these temples, right? That's where the Eka system is. And you have Eka 11 and 12 are here. You have arc 9 and arc 10 and arc 11. Arc 11 is centered right on the Kemalahati flame and the Amaraya flame at its center. So this is the three pillars of heaven, as they were called, the arc gates. What we have down here is more arc gates. This begins to show you more of what the arc gate systems are part of. They're part of the Polarian matrix, which is part of a larger structure, part of which is called the Rama passage. The Rama passage has to do with this set of gates. Now, if you look at it before we do any rotations or track rotations, because remember, the arc gates stay put. It's just that things rotate through them. But these gates are built primarily on primal light fields. This was the Particum primal light field, and that was a Part K primal light field. These were the density gates, and these are the primal light field gates. So the gates, even though these bekas change and shift underneath them, they're still, the shields of the gates are composed of the core, the core frequencies that they were, the core frequencies when they're in their, let's call it the neutral position. All right, we have Particum down here, Particum primal here, and Part K primal here, and Part K density here. So these are primal light field gates, which means they're high frequency gates compared to the lower density gates. What is going to take place as we go through the pillar cycles, pillar starburst cycles, we're going to progress with our spin. We're here now. We're going to progress with it up past. We were only going to go this far before. That was the original 2012. We're going to hit that, and then we're going to like have the bridge zone, have a nice slow evolution cycle from that point. Yeah, no, not anymore. Now we're going to do a very rapid. We're here 2012, and by 2017, actually 2015, we pass into the Rama passage and complete another 45-degree shift. So we did 45 degrees to the Rama passage, another 45 degrees to what would be the alignment with the parallel Eka. And from there, we can do a 180 flip, come through the center, and pop out in the corresponding Veka density level on the other side. And I have a feeling that's just the beginning, because they're in trouble too at this point with what's taking place with the rating of the Eka here. So if their Eka, their side of the Eka ends up falling, and or something, the whole thing, whatever can be salvaged, will probably be put in that other twin set. And I don't even know where that fits in yet on the maps, but I have a feeling it's there, or I wouldn't have stumbled across the idea. I don't think I would ever thought of it, actually, if it wasn't something to do with, like, wait till we get to 2012 and we'll deal with that, but that's the rest of what happens, right? First thing is getting to the Rama passage, getting through the Rama passage, getting back through the center of the Eka, which is going through the center flame. This is the point where we would hit the activation of the chariot of fire. The planets would, the Vekas would, everything in that's coming with us would activate its crystal body structure, and it would turn into a star. Not unto itself. It would probably still be a reality field holding whatever it held inside. But if you were looking at it from the outside, it would look like a star, a starburst. And what we're going to do is go through the gate systems here. And then I'm not sure which, I am actually. I think we did finally get that. Yeah, I remembered I finished one graph that I didn't think I was going to get through. But we're going to end up over here on the other side. That's the first transition. I have a feeling it might be, that might be the only transition. We might be able to stay in that timeline and then just slow down and do the natural evolution from there, as long as their side holds. But there may be a contingency plan that if there's too much damage in that side, they're just going to whip the whole thing into what they call the heroic probability. And the heroic probability is where the Buddhara never fell. It's a timeline that they originally came out of, where they're like you could say you have timelines that do everything perfect and nothing ever falls and everything goes just right. And then you have probabilities, because you have free will, which are spin-offs that are little timelines within the bigger ones. Well, obviously, they have a fallen matrix. That's the Buddhara matrix. That implies they're not in their heroic time cycle either. and neither are we. Their problems became our problems with the creation of our Eka on this side. And I have a feeling, because they have said it, they said they're going to take us literally into the heroic probability of where the creation point for both sides. And I think that probably means they're going to fall on their side, like part of them are going to fall, just like part of this one's going to fall. But what this could possibly look like while you're riding on a planet while it's doing this, I have no idea. But our bodies will be doing it too. And it's a good thing we had a little bit of the K2-3 and a little bit of the 4, so we at least know we have this crystal body structure. Even if we don't know how to use it yet or what's connected to what again, at least we know it's there. Right? So anyway, this is showing you just the Rama passage gate systems, the Ark of the Covenant gate systems that are part of the Polarian matrix gate systems, and this is the Rod of Rama. And I do believe this has something to do with connecting those two sets of twins that are the quadruplets into their original heroic probability, but they haven't even gotten to the mechanics on that level yet. And I don't really want to think about it tonight, to be honest with you. This stuff was just thrown at us, recently. And you've heard the sophistication of the written stuff that goes with it that I've read to you before. And now you can see the challenges of even some of the diagrams, trying to keep them simple so you can even see what's still on the page. Because when they get layered like that, you look at them and you go, yeah, I know it's all in there. I have no idea where anything is anymore. I lost him. So anyway, we have our Rod of Rama. We will be activating the Rod of Rama. I believe it activates, what day is it? I think that activates on the day 13. I think it goes the Starburst 13 day. But the Rama passages open on day 6. That's when we're at the Taj. That's part of what we're doing. We're dropping the final security release keys, Rama keys, and it's going to open the main passages. Now we'll open them on the D13 level. Each pillar that anchors each year will open that set of octaves that go with them. All right, so you'll have D13 opening now. The primal light fields will open. You'll have the ones that correspond to D1 next. And that will go with that. That will start with the starburst that's coming in May of this year when we're in Morocco. Then a year from there, you'll have number 2 in the D2 frequencies. So each of these things will come into activation per dimensional level, per pillar starburst. And so it's not something that's going to happen overnight. This is what's different than. This is why it's a starburst and not just a red pulse. A red pulse on its own is very destructive, and it just rips through the shields. All of these things that are going to, in a very controlled, sequential manner, happen now, between now and 2012. It's very orderly manner. There's it's like the energy takes care of itself in a balanced way. That would all be squashed up together into one big bang mess under certain conditions when the Templar gets blown. And smaller versions of those on even like galactic levels have happened where galaxy is just literally vaporized because somebody played with the Templar the wrong way, kind of thing. So we are doing starburst as opposed to just red pulse. But yes, starburst does involve dimensional red pulse, but one dimension at a time. So it's a lot more peaceful to move through. It can still vaporize you, particularly when you get the 3 of them together in 2012. That's going to be a bit of a interesting rumble, I would think. But maybe at that point the frequency is so strong, holding the fields, that you don't even feel it. If we were going and our Veka wasn't, it would be like riding a supersonic spaceship. Hold on to your seat and hope the G-force doesn't flatten you, into pulp. But the whole Veka, whatever can be salvaged, is going. So the whole crystal body is, we have these levels of buffer around us from the universal level, the galactic level, the solar level. So it should be a pretty tame passage for the mechanics that are involved in it being intense. So anyway, just want to show you that, and I want to be able to have time to read, and I don't want to keep you here till 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm afraid to look at the clock. I promised you I wouldn't do that and keep you late. I was really, really trying to stick to that idealized hypothetical schedule. Anyway, most people know that if we put it on the paper, that's what we're hoping occurs, but times are always subject to change with these workshops because I have no control over when the data will come. Okay, I just want to peek at this for a minute. I just want to peek at that. That one was fun. All right, now, which one is this? Okay, this is just showing you a larger version of the Ark of the Covenant gates and the Rama passage gate systems. All right. Now remember, we're spiraling these two. This L is spiraling underneath that, and this one spiraling down this way underneath that, but the gates are staying in the same place. The arc gates are staying in the same place. Next one, yeah, not really, but it's necessary. What?
The microphone's starting to distort. Could it be that there are battery problems?
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, it's not just me being tired? Should I wait a minute? Yeah. This was another thing that kept me busy for a while. What that is tracking the spins of both sides so you can see what aligns with what when. So you know what is lining up with what when. And we have a January of 2005, where we are now. We have December 2012. You have December 2015. And you have December 2017. All right? Now, the first and most easy one, what I've done, instead of putting the whole large ball or the KETHRADON, wherever you see one of these balls, imagine the whole is actually a big cell on that axis. Like, if you see a ball here, that means there's a sphere there, and inside that sphere is the KETHRADON grid, right? But you have KETHRADON grids spinning through each other now. The ones from parallel on the bottom side of the plate, and the ones from here on the top side of the plate, which means you have these spheres around them rotating through each other. To make it simple, so you could track the movements, I just put a small dot where the spheres would be, so you could see which ones were on the same axis alignment at what point in time. You can also see who passes over what black hole. Because what we have here in the center is the combination of this one and this one put together. All right. Now, each one of these is a time period. Running horizontally, they're time periods this way. So this is all the same time period. This is showing our Eka-Veka system alignments. This is showing the parallel Eka-Veka system alignments, the other side of the plate, in other words. All right. This is showing them together. We have our particum universe right here at this point, because we were down here, but we already made that 90-degree sweep here. Our primal light field made the 90-degree sweep down here. So we have our particum primal field, and we have our particum density field here. Now, that was the clockwise spinning L set. We also had our antiparticle set, our pKa set, spiraling down. We did 45-degree shift, or 90-degree shift. They did 90-degree shift. So now you have the particle universe, the particle density, antiparticle density universe has shifted down to here, and you have their primal light field has shifted down to here. So that's showing the alignments on our side of the plate. Over here, it's tracking the alignments too, and it's going to take me probably till tomorrow this time if I track you through each one of these. What's most important is you get the idea that this is showing you, and they're labeled, which is aligned with what. And I'm going to show you the main most important alignments. But I wanted you to see how the time cycles work, how that Veka structure that we're used to seeing as a map fits in as a spinning set of things that creates time waves that spiral through the base shield, and it has its counter-rotating force, and how that counter-rotating force is actually the force of the parallel Eka-Veka on the other side. So you can see how the pieces fit together. Now, what we have over here, too, these little square shapes. The square shapes, there are two here on our side of the plate, and there are two here on the parallel Akasha side of the plate. They are the black holes, and they always stay in the same fixed axis positions. So the other things spiral around and through them. Now, when you see something strung out like this, where you see like the black one in here and the white one out here, they're really in the same place. It's just showing you that they are on that axis alignment together, so you can see who is on there. They're really overlaying each other. Right? So what we have here is kind of interesting. We have our particum density universe and the particum primal field, which is coming that way, and our particum universe is moving this way. But right now, we're in direct alignment with the particum primal light field on that side. And you look over here, on that axis, there isn't anything else there from the other side right now. And this is because if you track the spins, you find out that sometimes they will interface and sometimes their KETHRADON grids won't interface. There's different times that they run into each other or they overlay each other. So what we have, when you combine the movements here, where you have the 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we're tracking is a movement of four Kethara grids, right? 4 Veka quadrants on each one. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. And it doesn't even matter right now what they are. I'll tell you the most important lineups. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the alignments in January of 2005. It's actually what we came into December 21st, 2004. And it's still in that alignment. You put them together, and this is what you have. We're just here with our PCM density and pKa from this side, primal light field. You have quite a lineup happening here, where you've got these two, the little tiny ones, represent these. Okay, so it's just showing you this. It's like they're small at the center. So these bigger ones are those. And I just did that because we're here right now. So we'd make those bigger if you're going to see them both on the same thing. Since it would be hopeless to try to write on them what it was, it would just distort the diagrams. Now, this one you have these two down here, right? You have particum density, and so that was our parallel density one that's over here now, and particum primal, the one that could come down there. They're aligned here. And you also have, on that same axis over on the underside of the plate, you have, and the PE stands for parallel eka. Okay, so parallel eka PCM primal and parallel eka density. So those 4 are aligned right here. Now, so this shows you, as these spins, they have been tracked. And this was not fun. This was hard to do. You had to take each one and meticulously do it and then go, wait a minute, oh shoot, did I go the wrong direction with that one? You have to go back and check to make sure. Because some of them are going clockwise, some of them are going counterclockwise. It's not always the white one that goes clockwise. Sometimes it goes counterclockwise depending on which side of the plate you're on. So it was a bit frustrating to do it, but they should be right. Before it's typeset and stuff, I'll check it one more time when I'm conscious, because I've been awake so long at this point, I wouldn't trust my eyes. But these are, they said that they're right. Yeah, so I trust that. I don't think they're just trusting my guesswork. I did trace them, and this is what they come out to be. This is the alignment change, how they change from this alignment. This, in our side, changed from that to this alignment. This one changed to this alignment between 2005 and December 2012. Now remember, December 2012 is when the particum universe, when we come into that original alignment that would have been running with the Akasha axis on our side. Right? So if we look in our particum side, in our eka over here, look for the particum density, right? That's particum density. And if you look at this as the Veka axis, and this is the Akasha axis, and that's the Eka axis, like we're used to seeing it. So it's showing you that's in 2012, what we showed you on the other one that showed the little Veka at the center and just the lines coming out to show the transition. So it's showing you the same thing, but it's showing you a lot of information at once, so you don't need like 8 different pieces of paper to draw those big ones on. It's consolidating them. So we're in 2012, we're going to be here, PCM density. That implies, from the detail that was on the other diagram, from here in 2005, January 2005, through 2012, somewhere in here, we get our usual pillar resets. And that was originally scheduled for this period of time. We would have, I believe, pillar, this was 2006, I think. There was 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2010, 2011, 2012. So it was from 2006 to 2012 took place in there. And that's when the pillars that correspond with that were supposed to, to do their usual activation cycle. That is, the pillars will still activate on those cycles. But then you have that 17 months and 6-day period from the activation date of the pillar to the starburst point of the pillar. All right. So these, you could put that kind of detail in. So you can like conceptualize those other diagrams as fitting in to these diagrams as well. We're tracking the spins and what's happening within those time periods. So we have December 2012. Our particum universe is here. Our particum primal is down here on this axis at the 45 degrees down here. The particum primal is also there with it. The particum density is directly across from us at this point. It's going that way, and we're going that way, and it's directly across from us over here. When we get over here, it shows the alignments for that time period of the parallel one on the other side of the plate, and this shows the alignments of all of them together. And it also shows we have our two, I think that's our two, yeah. These two are Wisadek and Wisadrak black holes, and this one here, this one is the Budhara black hole on the parallel side, and this one is the Adonai host, or the Adani host Adonai host with an I, little I. Okay, so you can see we're moving. Right now we're here. Our particum universe is, or right now we're here. Our particum universe is moving up through there. This is, I forgot to put that one on there. This is the axis right here. Well, that's because, see, I didn't put their wormholes, I didn't put on our side. I put them on the combined graph. So here is what we're passing through before we get to 2012. We have to pass from here through there, and that's where the host can pick up. That's where people that aren't going to be able to make the rest of what the planet's going through can actually get out. There's a piece that I want to get to read because it talks about mass evac waves. There's going to be some people on the planet that need to get out before a certain number, pillar number, activates. Like maybe they can hold frequency up to a certain point, but they're going to go into compaction if they still stay in their body and don't get out before a certain pillar comes that they can't, keep up with the frequency with. So that implies that there are all sorts of soul agreements and avatar agreements with the planetary field and everything going on for beings that need to get out. We saw one of those on the 26th of December. And that wasn't one, they're not created. They're agreed upon once the Earth decides where it's going to blow. The Earth decides where it's going to release the frequency buildups, and as far as the consciousness, and it decides where they're going to come out, depending too on where they're being shot at from, because the Earth is being bombarded at this point with frequency from good sides and frequencies from not good sides. So this was the first of 7 evac waves that are supposed to take place between, that one and I think 2017, but it might be 2012. They haven't told us yet. By the end of this workshop, they may, like not this workshop, but the whole series, the India workshops, they may let us know more about the 7 signs. Part of the 7 signs are the 7 evac waves. The guardian races aren't creating the evac waves. They're facilitating them. Because what is happening is there are 7 things that are going to activate through the UIR grid activations that are going to create disturbances in the grids that the Earth is going to have to blow somewhere. Like we saw tsunamis the last time, an earthquake and then tsunamis. There's going to be some events. I don't know the degree to which they are, but they have described them as times that it will be intense enough that a bunch of people could host out through them. So when the Earth decides it's going to react in a certain way to a certain set of frequencies being thrown at it from the UIR, then the guardians will say, okay, if there's people that want to come out, these guys need to get out before this time. They're actually arranging. It's like bus trips, bus trips to density 2, and that's what we just saw. So there's going to be a bit more of that happening as we move through these changes, and it would help to know that it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. It wouldn't mean the people here were ready to give you conscious, go ahead, I think I'll go out in a tsunami next week, you know what I mean? Most people are, even us, I really think twice about it. Maybe I'll wait before my transition window. It's all right, what I mean? Unless I get to, go home through the gates and take the body and all that stuff. But anyway, it's as we move through these shifts, so this will get us to 2012, we're going to go through the crossover, the Adonai host, and that's when a lot of the people that would otherwise go Metatronic and fall down into, before they were going to fall down into the Wisa hole down here, but now they're blending these, so they got a big one cutting across this axis here, and the fall is going to happen through the Budhara one that they've opened into this side, and they've literally combined them, and that's what they're trying to do, is to get this one online and this one online as well, and just take out the whole thing. So by 2012, some interesting things happened at 2012, and they threw this in right at the end after they gave the written stuff to me. They had me plug this back into the graphs. In 2012, actually it starts now. There's a separation that starts now because of the starbursts starting, where here we are, the PCM universe, our planets here, our Vekas here. The starbursts, each pillar starburst, starting with this one, is going to create a progressive split in the dimensional crystal body. First it's going to fragment and shatter. Then the stuff that can hold the Polarian host is going to reassemble on that dimensional level, and that's where we get the new crystal body. The fragments that can hold a Christ imprint will be reassembled through the Polarian gates host grid that holds the Rama code, which is the original creation code that we were created from in the first place. The ones that can't hold that are going to go into counter-rotation spin. So starting with this that we're in the middle of right now, this is the D13 light field, the crystal body shatters, and then two form from it. One is going to shatter, reform on the crystal code and continue this journey. Okay, so this is the one that will go from where we are here up to here. But at the same time, starting here in 2005, the one that isn't, the other one that shatters, it doesn't just immediately shatter and everybody blows up and vaporizes. Because it's a starburst and not just a chaotic red pulse, it's a starburst, it means whatever the dominant encryption in the falling part of the shields will act as a template around which the organization of the units that fragment can come back together. So you're going to have it's almost like having green beads and red beads thrown up in the air together, and then little magnets that one pulls the red ones this way and one pulls the green ones that way, and the green ones go up and the red ones go down, or vice versa, or whatever. That kind of thing. That if you think of those beads as being the literal fragments of Kelon units that your shields and your crystal body on that dimensional level that the pillar corresponds to is, once it's shattered, they're going to separate into what can hold a Cris code and what can't. What can't hold a Cris code will take the dominant code that's in the falling shields, which is the Metatronic code. All right, because it's in the sextant shields in the planetary grid. There are two codes still running on this planet. One is the original Cris code, still limping its way through, and the other is the Metatronic code. So the others, when this here, our planetary crystal body splits on the D13 level first when we're here, and then each, as we progress up through till the 2012 position, we're going to go through all of the 12 levels. So each level, the crystal body is going to shatter, split. One time wave goes down, one goes up, and it gets rebirthed, literally, the new one, the new crystal body, and that's the one we're tracking, following up. But what happens to the one that's going Metatronic? It's interesting. If you look from 2005 to 2012, the one that's ascending goes from here up to here, right? It goes from here to here. It does a 45, that's 45. I get confused with my 22.5s now. It's 45-degree shift, right? This one, this is where the wave splits. It will do a 45-degree shift down that way. So literally, each dimensional level, starting with the D13 primal light field, is following two different time wave rhythms and ripping apart. But there's two crystal bodies that are reforming. The thing shatters, the one shatters, becomes two, reforms around its main pattern, and the one goes down while the one goes up. And the one shifts 45 up, the other one will shift 45 down. They're two time waves actually stretching away from each other. And after all the pillars go, now this is going to take place as our wave moves up to here. Their wave is going to be progressively moving down. For every inch we go up, they'll go an inch down. And what that looks like when you get to here, by 2012, we're aligned here. Okay? And they've aligned here. That's not too bad. We take it up to the next bracket of time, December 2015. Okay, now, in December 2015, we would be from here to here. So it's a 45-degree shift from, where are we? Here to here. Did I put the wrong one in there? PCM primal? No. Wait a minute. Yeah, I did. Wait a minute. Let me find myself again. PCM primal. Moved. Oh, that's primal. Okay, yeah, our primal light field comes up here. We are here. We've moved from here to here, another 45 degrees. The other part of the crystal body that's falling has done another 45 degrees from where it was, which brings it down to here. So it had ended up where? See, I didn't do all of the crystal bodies on this because they threw this at me right at the end when I was getting ready to come down. So it went from where it is here. It started to make another 45-degree shift, but it hit something before it got there. It came into direct alignment with the Buddhara wormhole. And that would be in a time period that corresponds to, we're already past 2012. We're at we went to 2015. But before we get to 2015, we have those last three pillars that have to anchor all at once in, like, in 2012, and then the starbursts that go with them, which come, I think, up to 2014. So while we're here going through the starbursts for the last 3 pillars, you say that's about 2014. We have 2013 here. 2012, the pillars anchor, activate. They go through their period of time, and then 2014, they do their starburst. Same time, we're still moving that way. These guys, we're still progressively moving down this way. When the 2013 point hits, right before we get into the starburst for those 3 pillars together, they hit alignment down here on the 22.5 degree axis with the Buddha or wormhole, and they fall. And it severs the 2 waves up to this point. But up to this point, you have 9 dimensions of the crystal body had shattered and rebuilt into 2 different ones going in 2 different directions, right? So they will fall with the 9-dimensional crystal body. All right? We will be released. We'll get an acceleration at that point because as they're moving down and we're moving up, there's tension between them. We're creating drag fields on each other. So as soon as that falls and the time wave connection snaps, the drag field lets go. So we get an acceleration that moves us into and actually picks up the frequency enough where the planet, the new planetary grids will be able to hold the 3 starbursts together. But when the 3 starbursts of pillars 10, 11, and 12 take place, remember in 2012 they anchor and activate, and then in 2014 they do their starburst. By 2015, after the starburst of those last 3 pillars, we come into this alignment. And this is where it gets interesting, and it's easier if I read it to you, but I'll describe it real quick, and then we'll go into the reading material, because we're at the end of the graph bits. But from here, remember, we have here the Rama passage gate systems, right? They were like the Ark of the Covenant gates. Well, by now, all of these are activated, because each pillar activates one of the dimensions of it. And when we did the last 10, 11, and 12, that took it all the way up to 12. There's the process that was described, too, by the way, that if the D1 pillar does its thing and goes, then what's left of that, the crystal body from D1, the newly formed one, goes up and bonds with the one from D2. Well, that goes all the way up for each pillar like that. But when you get to the D12 pillar going, what are the units going to bond to? The only thing left is the D13 primal light field, the echo primal light field. So when we get up to the 2015 point, that's when we actually pass into the Rama passage gates. And we pass into, and this means we have already gone, this was where we would have stopped before. We've already done a plus 45, an additional 45 rotation, and we still have another 45 rotation before we get to the 0 point axis, which is the axis that the Eka 12 is at, right? So we enter, in 2015, we enter the Rama passage gate systems and finish the 45 degrees rotation in a 2-year period between 2015 and 2017. That's going to be a pretty fast 45-degree shift, I would think. Once we get here, then there's a 180 flip to be able to come back down in the center. All right, so once we get past 2015 and up to 2017, all right, went from 2015 through the Rama, into the Rama passage at 2015 and through into the 2017 alignment. Then there is the magnetic fields will flip 180, bring us down in this way along the 0 point line into the center, and then pop us back out here on the other side of, in the other side of the plate.